A lot of people will call in and be like, I have something urgent, it's an emergency. You read in the client handbook what an emergency is, which basically is a child's in danger, has been kidnapped, somebody has passed away. But if it's not anything of that nature, then that is not an emergency and we'll get to you within that 24 to 48 hours. So we do a free case evaluation for every single person who calls in that schedules that consultation or case evaluation. It usually is between 15 to 20 minutes. So our intake team will take that initial call, get all of the information, do the conflict check, and then they will schedule it with somebody to do that case evaluation. That case evaluation, which is about 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes a little longer if the case is a little complicated or litigious, um, we rate our potential new clients, which I know sounds really odd, but we rate them from 1 to 5. And if they receive anything 3 or below, usually not somebody that we are going to bring on, because just as much as a client needs to match with the attorney needs to match with the client. And we have several associates at my firm, several attorneys that work on the files. But if I personally, as the owner of the firm, would not want to work with this client, I would never make one of my associates or one of my paralegals work on it. And that speaks to culture as well. So that's why we have this rating system. And
What's involved in the rating system? What are you looking at?
we're looking at if we're going to exceed their expectations, if their expectations are not realistic. We're looking at if they understand the scope of services and how the length of the case will be. So I'll give you a really easy one. On the family side, because we practice family and probate at the firm, on the family side, if somebody calls in and is like, I'm looking for an attorney to give me 100% time sharing with my child, that immediately, and they're told during that case evaluation, we're a 50-50 state. So in order to get anything that deviates from 50-50 time sharing, you're either neglecting the child, abusing the child, abandoning the child. Like, it's got to be something egregious, severe. So if your expectation is that you're going to hire us and we're going to get you 100% time sharing, if you don't understand during that case evaluation that that's not realistic, you're not a 5. And it's important because, just as much like what I was saying before, you don't want to promise the world to these clients and then they're underwhelmed or disappointed or leave bad reviews or unhappy, because it's your reputation. It's the firm's reputation. You don't want people going out there and saying they promised me the moon and the stars and I did not get those things. So that's part of, the rating system, which then connects to the client handbook. So if they're a 4 or a 5, we know we're able to help them with their situation. We believe confidently that we can help them. They understand the scope. They're going to be a good client. They're going to be reasonable. They're not going to want to spend every penny litigating this, because that's not our firm. We don't want to take every case to trial. That would not be fair to every client, right? We want to settle. We want to mediate. We want to try to make the best deal possible for our client, and that does not mean going to trial on every case. We also don't want to put them in debt. So if they're not able to afford going to trial, that is something we talk about in the case evaluation, to set expectations. Like, listen, if you want to go to trial, it's going to cost X amount. If you want us to try to resolve this to your liking, we can probably do that before trial. We can do that way before trial. Um, but, anyways, going back, once we see that they're the right fit for the firm and they feel like we are the right fit for them, because choosing an attorney is extremely important as well, we put them through the onboarding process. And part of the onboarding process is the client handbook, which is, I think it's like 35 pages now, where it goes through how our firm works, who are the attorneys, who are the paralegals, what our hourly rates are, what you can expect in communication. So we have a 24 to 48-hour communication policy that's spelled out. So if you contact us, email, text, phone call, you will get a response within 24 to 48 hours, unless it's a Saturday and then you have to wait until Monday. But they get it. We define what an emergency is. So a lot of people will call in and be like, I have something urgent, it's an emergency. you read in the client handbook what an emergency is, which basically is a child's in danger, has been kidnapped, somebody has passed away, right? Um, Something that, we spell it out. But if it's not anything of that nature, then that is not an emergency and we'll get to you within that 24 to 48 hours. We also talk about email expectations. We talk about how the court system works. It's just basically like a roadmap